So I'm sure some of you struggle when you're setting up your business. What are you going to call your business? So I call mine Bose Consulting. Why did I do that? Nobody knew me, so it didn't make a difference. Why did I call myself Bose Consulting?
Because it described what you did. You consult.
Yeah, no.
To a degree, no.
But it does, you're a consultant, okay, so that piece.
And that was your forte, that was what you...
But you had your brand already, your little bow.
But I didn't know that.
Oh.
You know, this here, the B, right, I just was a trustee. Because I wasn't smart enough to take it any further. With the bow. Anyone ever hear of Pitney? Go ahead.
Pitney Bowes?
Personal branding.
Pitney Bowes.
Pitney Bowes. Has anyone heard of Pitney Bowes?
You have a name similar to them. That's a good thing.
You know, they're a big, really successful business. Why shouldn't I write on their tails? Right? So if Bowes is known in the business world, then maybe they'll think I'm related.
It's like when people Google online and they spell something just a little bit different and you get found.
Yeah. Okay, but there's also the Bowes Foods. They were in restaurant foods at one time.
Yeah.
So in Manitoba, there was the Pitney Bowes, and there was also the Bowes Foods. I've written to George Pitney, by the way. He never answered. Probably thought it was after his money or something. I was just trying to do some genealogy. What?
Did you come up with that on your own, or did you get a consultant to help you decide?
Nobody's helped me with anything. No, I was just saying, nobody's helped me with anything, but it might be because I wasn't smart enough to ask. Okay? Like I was very alone. There was no Women's Enterprise Center. There was no nothing. That's why I asked Jason how long they've been around, because I didn't know there was any help out there.
Well, I asked that because it's so obvious, but yet some people don't recognize the obvious. Right?
So there was two reasons I use Bowes. One is the Pitney Bowes, okay, so and the Bowes Foods or whatever it was called. The other one is I don't know how many businesses I know where you give me a name and I got to figure who the heck is it. You know, I met Jerry at this event, and he's with such and such a business. Like, what? I can't find him. So if you go a different name, you're forcing the customers to remember the name and remember the person who put them together. I like shortcuts. So
your company's name should reflect what you do.
Yeah, so the Bowes Consulting reflected, but the choice of Bowes was because of Pitney Bowes, and also because Bowes is Bowes. You know who to come after then, right? So that's where I got the name.
And you could say it's all, here's your package, all wrapped up in consulting with one person.
Yeah, and you have to remember, in my consulting, you're the product. I don't have a product to sell. And I'm not a product person because I did start trying to sell training programs. Put the package underneath your arm and you go trying to sell this training program. I was no good at that. I could sell myself and what it was I could do. So I realized I'm much more service oriented, so I stopped trying to sell a product. But then, you know, you got to be really professional looking, right? And then I chose a color. You know, my very first business color, Tracy, it was green.
Yeah.
It was green. It was green. Let me find green. Can you see the green that far? I was going to do a bunch of slides, but I didn't know there was a machine here, so I didn't. Here, see B? So again, emphasizing the B. And then I thought I was really clever. Can't you see these 3 pillars of knowledge? You do? Thank you.
The 3 degrees.
Probably a little more like it. But then I wanted it clean and I had no money, so these cost me $2 each. Just a little imprint and, you know, really professional, and, you know, you put stuff in here and stuff like that, right? But why did I choose green?
Money.
I wanted to make some money. So I don't know where that fits into marketing principles. So I told you this is all kind of intuitive. Like, I just needed to make some money, so green for the money, let's go for it. I did. That's really what it was. You have to make a name for yourself. You have to be that known entity, the brand, right? So I already had a brand in school division. And one of the brands I haven't told you about, but it's called the Lady with the Hat. I'm known in Winnipeg as the Lady with the Hat. Now, I brought 2 hats to show you, but I've put on a lot of weight since then, so they don't quite look so good anymore, but I saved them. And
like now I know you. As if I haven't known you. Absolutely. Now I remember you. You used to frequent several restaurants I worked at over the years.
I hope I behave myself. I was the only one in Winnipeg that wore a hat.
No, that's not true. There's a lady named Linda Casper taught in St. James, wore a different hat every single day to school all the time.
Yeah, but being an isolated teacher, I
21
never
years.
ran into her at
Nobody.
all, and neither did the rest of the business community, so I still am the only lady with the hat.
Okay.
But when I wore my hat, and I have to tell you, the reason I wore my hat is because I used to live up north on the reserve. Am I running out of time already? Gord?
No, anything but.
Scared me. As a teacher, I lived on the reserve. So I wore pants, boots, parka, toque. And when I came south by myself. I left my husband and came down south with my 2 kids. Toque wouldn't do it here. Toque wouldn't do it here. So I went out and I bought a hat, not this hat, but a hat that was a little bit like a bowler hat. It was poor choice on my part, but I wore it, and then wore it in the school division, and I feel good in a hat. It's not actually that I happen to resemble a queen mum. And by the way, she's got half the right name. Bose Lyon is her name. Oh, you didn't catch on to that either, eh? So, but I wore it for 1 year. And my friends came to me finally, probably in June or something, and said, you know, who the hell do you think you are? And I said, what are you talking about? Well, you're trying to make yourself look better than us. You're trying to make yourself stand out. And I said, no, my head was cold. I mean, that's all it was. So I actually took it off for 1 whole year. And then, Ms. Lupke, I looked in the mirror and I said, you know, I look good in hats. I feel good in hats. And to hell with you, I'm wearing a hat. Because that's me. And it was important for me to recognize that I needed to be me. So I did. I wore all these hats. So I've got color. I only brought 2, but I have one every color. Purple, green. Do you notice how things match? Right? Do you notice how there's a bow with everything? Okay? So these are very subtle, aren't they? So I've tried, that's one of the kinds of things I've tried to do, is to weave the theme of things into the way I dress. So tonight I have pearls on, but I have bows and different kinds of things. So you don't have to say anything. They look at that. They look at that, or they look at the hat, and they'll recall who you are. So that's how I did it. I'd be walking down the street and somebody would email, or if they didn't have email, then they might phone or they might write or something. They'd say, I saw you walking down the street and I knew it was you because you have a hat. So I haven't worn many for the last couple years, but it really worked. And it just really worked. I became known as the lady with the hat.